Beneath the laughter, the writers quietly tell one of the darkest stories ever written for a kids show in Hooky, Season 1, Episode 20. This episode is about warnings that go ignored and fun that lasts just a short while. And by the time the lesson becomes clear, it's already too late. It begins with Mr. Krabs bursting through the Krusty Krab doors like a man who's seen ghosts, his eyes wide, screaming.
They're back! They're back, I tell you!
He warns the Hooks have returned, but everyone ignores him. The crowd rolls their eyes. Even Squidward ducks into a trash can to avoid the conversation.
I have to do my wastebasket inspection.
Nobody wants to hear bad news when the sun's still shining, but SpongeBob listens. He's innocent enough to believe and naive enough to doubt. Mr. Krabs begins to demonstrate to SpongeBob with his claws how the hooks work by giving a fish a serious wedgie. So bad that this poor guy sucks his cup through his straw. He warns SpongeBob to stay away.
And then they cook you, and then they eat you, or worse.
What could be worse than that?
Gift shops.
And it's funny until it isn't, because that line about being eaten or displayed is really about what happens when you lose yourself to something bigger than you can control. We'll explain in a moment. And that's when Patrick shows up, convincing SpongeBob to take a break. Big grin, no sense of danger. He mentions there's a carnival in town, hooks hanging like party decorations baited with cheese. Come on, SpongeBob, it's fun, he says. Big grin, no sense of danger. And just like that, the episode sets its trap. Because temptation never arrives looking dangerous. It looks like fun, shiny, harmless, and easy to escape from. And that's what makes this episode hit so hard. It doesn't introduce danger as something loud or obvious. It introduces it as something that invites you in and something that feels good. Because real danger almost never looks like a threat at first. When they reach the carnival, it's quiet, too quiet. Dozens of hooks sway gently in the water, glinting under the sunlight. And then a detail that flashes by in seconds, a pair of empty shoes on the ground. Patrick mentions it casually.
There was one kid here earlier.
The camera lingers just long enough for it to sting. Empty shoes, no body, no explanation. It's the underwater equivalent of a missing child poster, a warning that someone already disappeared because they didn't understand the danger. But Patrick doesn't notice. He's already playing. He dangles from the hook, bouncing and spinning, laughing as it lifts him toward the surface. For a second, SpongeBob thinks he's gone forever. Then Patrick floats back down, grinning.
You just jump off before you go up too high.
And with that single line, SpongeBob's fear dissolves. Mr. Krabs' warnings start to sound overdramatic, because if your best friend can do it and survive, how bad could it really be? This is the moment every bad decision begins, because the brain doesn't learn from warnings alone, it learns from experience. SpongeBob doesn't ignore Mr. Krabs because he's rebellious. He ignores him because he hasn't felt the consequences yet. And that's a universal truth. Advice sounds like noise until pain gives it meaning. Meanwhile, back at the Krusty Krab, Squidward's losing his mind. The grill's empty, the line's angry. Mr. Krabs can practically smell that his fry cook is missing. He follows SpongeBob's trail to the field of hooks, and when he sees them dangling there, his whole body freezes. He's not angry, he's terrified. Because for him, this is deja vu. The way he shakes, the way he shouts, it's the panic of someone who's already lived through this kind of danger. Once you're caught, he warns again, you're finished. And his speech gets darker. You'll end up vacuum-packed in a can of tuna with nothing to look forward to but mayonnaise. For a moment, it stops being a cartoon. That line is pure despair. The voice of someone who knows what it means to become a product consumed and discarded. It's the language of addiction. Notice how the hooks aren't framed as dangerous. They don't hurt SpongeBob. They don't punish him. They give him the rush first. Because addiction doesn't start by taking something away. It starts by making you not want to stop doing what feels good. It turns you into something that exists only to feed the thing that caught you. That's when you're the product. Krabs makes them swear a sailor's vow. They salute, they laugh, and for a brief second, it feels like SpongeBob learned his lesson. But temptations don't end with promises. They wait for the right moment to return. That moment is always loneliness, boredom, or stress, and that's when temptation comes back stronger and louder. The next day, SpongeBob's trying to be better. He's on his way to work, hoping to earn back Krabs' trust.
You're not going to work today. we're gonna go play hooky!
But then Patrick stops him. SpongeBob refuses at first. He quotes their vow. He tells Patrick he doesn't want to disappoint Mr. Krabs. But Patrick laughs. Relax, I had my fingers crossed. He calls him scared, boring. You've changed. It's subtle, but that's how peer pressure really works. Not through threats, but through shame. Patrick doesn't need to convince SpongeBob that danger is safe. He just convinces him that safety is uncool.
Look, SpongeBob, are you gonna listen to a big dummy, or are you gonna listen to me?
And SpongeBob, desperate not to lose his friend, gives in. He climbs onto the hook one more time. It feels good. The rush, the freedom, the illusion of control. That illusion is the most dangerous part. Because the second you believe you're in control, you stop watching the exit. And the episode makes this painfully clear. SpongeBob isn't grabbed. He steps forward willingly until he looks down and sees the hook stuck in his pants. The rush turns to panic. He runs back to the Krusty Krab, pretending nothing's wrong, but the guilt is written all over his face. He hides, fidgets, then finally confesses.
Oh, Mr. Krabs, I'm so ashamed. I mean, look at me. I'm hooked.
That's the language of relapse. The shame, the guilt, the desperate confession to someone you've disappointed. And Krabs, the voice of hard-earned wisdom, tells him what he has to do. Remove the pants, no matter who's watching. It's absurd, it's hilarious, but it's also symbolic. Recovery often means losing your pride in public, admitting your mistakes in front of everyone, letting go of the image that you've got everything under control. Pearl and her friends are at the Krusty Krab as SpongeBob rips his pants off. But his pants isn't enough. He has to go one step farther and rip off his underwear too. The crowd laughs. He's humiliated, stripped bare literally and emotionally.
Well, that was more of SpongeBob than I needed to see.
But humiliation isn't the punishment, it's the cure. Because humiliation forces awareness. It strips away denial. It leaves you with nothing except the truth of what happened and the memory of how it felt. Because this entire thing, the hook, the trap, the embarrassment was planned. Squidward was controlling the line that hooked SpongeBob the whole time, under Krabs' orders. A stage scare to teach SpongeBob what pain feels like before the real world can. It's harsh, but it worked. Mr. Krabs isn't teaching through kindness, he's teaching through consequence. Because sometimes the only way to make a lesson stick is to let someone feel what it's like to fall. But this also shows how much Mr. Krabs cares about SpongeBob.
Do you think the lad has learned his lesson?
And when SpongeBob runs home crying, we see the cost of innocence and humility. On the surface, Hooky is about curiosity, but underneath, it's about two overlapping fears, losing control and being taken. The hooks represent both the lure of addiction and the threat of abduction. Mr. Krabs' line, "They'll pull you to the surface against your will," sounds less like a fisherman's warning and more like a parent explaining stranger danger. The hooks themselves represent unseen predators lurking in seemingly safe spaces, waiting to snatch unsuspecting victims who venture too close. They make you feel chosen, wanted, safe until it's too late. And the genius of this episode, how the writers teaches both dangers at once, the dangers of addiction and abduction. Either way, it's about something that takes you out of your world, something that looks harmless until you realize it doesn't let go. Patrick's ending is short but brutal. A tuna can arrives at his door. Inside is Patrick, sealed tight, asking for a can opener. It's the funniest possible depiction of tragedy. Patrick never learned. He thought it was still a game, still something he could escape. He became exactly what Mr. Krabs warned about. Vacuum-packed, preserved, and stuck forever. The tuna can is a quiet metaphor beneath the comedy. It can be seen as a coffin showing death in disguise, the end of innocence, and the cost of ignoring the warning. But it also mirrors a prison, because Patrick's stuck inside waiting for someone else to open the lid. Either way, the message is the same. Once you get hooked, no one gets out without help. For SpongeBob, humiliation becomes healing. Every bad decision leaves a mark, but every scar is a reminder of what not to touch next time. And for Mr. Krabs, his overprotective behavior suddenly makes sense. He's not just a greedy boss, he's a survivor. Someone who's seen people get pulled away and never come back. His panic, his paranoia, it's not overreaction, it's memory. There's something timeless about Hooky. Every generation has its own version of the hook, something shiny, thrilling, and harmless that ends up changing you. It can be the lure of addiction or escapism, or the false comfort of trusting the wrong person. And somewhere between those ideas, the episode captures the hardest truth of growing up. You don't really understand danger until it almost catches you. And maybe that's why, decades later, the episode still hooks us, because everyone, at some point, has looked at something dangerous and thought, just one ride. If you're still here, hit the subscribe button and click on the next video, because the truth is, we've all been caught before, and the only way out is to keep watching what happens next.